Welcome back. I am John P. Today we are joined by very special guest Federico from Federico Talks Watches and also my business partner at DelReyWatch.com. How are you, Federico?
Good. Am I still considered special at this point?
On this channel, certainly. More of you have been asking for me to have Federico on the channel more because, we bring different perspectives and we had a lot of fun shooting the last video. So make sure to check that out. Link in the description below. Also, make sure to check out Federico at Federico Talks Watches, where he brings a much different perspective than I do on a lot of watch topics. So it can give you a little bit of contrasting point of view. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely see things differently in a lot of cases, but that's the fun part, right? So go check it out.
Amazing. And also, shameless plug,
DelReyWatch.com. Guys, go check it out. We get hot new watches every day. We just got in a major package of Omega and Panerai, not off the top of my head because there's so many. But if you guys check this out, probably at the time of this video release, you should see all the new stock. Link in the description below.
Amazing. So the topic for today we're going to be getting into is how Federico Talks Watches is preparing for the end. Now, this is going to be a little bit different than the normal market situation chat, but instead advice from him, bringing his perspective on what he's doing with his personal watch collection if you should find it interesting and wanted to follow suit with the current market conditions. How do you think about that?
Sure. I mean, I think I'm a little different than most because I started as a watch collector. I'm now a watch dealer, but I'm still a collector for a lot of things. It's just I maybe have a little bit of information that's not available to everyone else.
Right. Based on what we trade.
And I'm sure a lot of people are going to accuse me of being a watch dealer first in this video. And that might be a fair assumption. However, regardless of whether I love a watch or not, I mean, if I really love it, I'm not going to sell it. But I don't necessarily buy things for my personal collection to flip. That's what we do at DelRey. We're talking about my personal collection here.
Right.
But I think the market has peaks and valleys. And on a personal note, I do pay attention to those because I certainly cannot afford to never sell anything if I want to buy something, right?
Right.
Whoop, let me just put my phone on silent.
Come on, how rude. These people, they want your attention.
So, I mean, I'll put it this way. As a watch collector, I don't necessarily focus on price too much. I'm aware I might lose a lot of the times I buy, but just like any smart businessman, I try and mitigate my losses. I know enjoying a watch can sometimes cost money. I don't expect to be able to sell it for what I bought it, nor do I personally buy watches for investment or future value. We do that at DelRey Watch. That's where we sell our watches for a profit. But Federico buys the watches he likes, which is very much like you guys at home.
But wouldn't you say that you also do buy a watch when it's a great deal or a great value when you like it?
I've bought more than one watch thinking, well, like, I wasn't thinking of buying this, but it's such a good deal that I can buy it and enjoy it and not really lose, and it's a great way to experience it a little bit. That being said, I'm not really preparing for the end. Watch market has taken a little bit of a tumble, but I do pay attention to certain things. A great explanation is my Hulk, a great example.
The Rolex Submariner Hulk.
Which I loved, and people accuse me of being a Rolex hater, and I'm not particularly a Rolex hater, I just hate Rolex for the value it brings. So I bought that watch for $8,000.
You don't hate Rolex, you just hate Rolex.
for the current market value, right? So I bought the watch for $8,000.
Which was unbelievable.
I mean, at the time, it was the market. I didn't get a great deal. I paid like what the watch was worth. And the watch went to 12, to 14, to 15. And once it hit 20, I started thinking to myself, this is just stupid. I mean, I love the watch, I really do. But I'd rather have $20,000 and buy so many other things that I've always wanted. And it didn't make sense as kind of my sporty beater watch at $20,000. And then when the market, I think, hit 22, 23, I sold it. Now people say, hey, Federico, how could you sell a watch you love? I still love it. It just did not make sense for what I could get out of it. I used that money to buy a Gerard Perregaux, to buy a Gold Moser, to buy this Piaget. I got so much more horological enjoyment out of it. So what I do is when watches hit a certain value, I think to myself, would I get?
Do you love it?
Would I get more horological enjoyment buying something else for that price or holding on to it? In the instance of the Hulk, I love the watch, but not at 23 Gs. I'd rather have a lot more watches at 23. At 8, I couldn't say no. I loved it at 8. And in fact, that was top of the market at 8. But at 23, I sold it. And in fact, it went all the way up to like 25, 26 without box and papers.
What you replaced it with, you're enjoying a lot more, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. So how do I prepare for the end? I mean, listen, I look at what I have. I see the current market value. And once a month or once every 2 months, I think, what are these worth? Is it worth that to me? Mm-hmm. And would I rather have something else with the money?
So I think what you're saying is you never really deviated away from wearing what you love, and a consideration is how much do you love it for the price of entry?
Exactly.
Right?
I mean, and there's
would you pay $5,000 to see Justin Bieber sing, or would you rather pay $5,000
to not?
To not. Something along those lines, right? I guess it matters. What is the ticket price for that event?
And sure, and there might be a $1,000 watch that I love for $40,000, in which case I won't sell it till it hit 40. It just, everything is subjective. That would be wild. Is my point, right? Some
that would be wild.
Heirlooms I wouldn't sell. I mean, I guess everything has a sales price. There's a lot of people that say, no, this doesn't have a sales price. Pretty sure if I offered you $500,000, you'd sell it to me. People are like, this has no price. Everything has a price.
We do read the comments, and people will say, oh, well, you were wearing a Rolex yesterday, and today you're saying, you wouldn't pay the market price. Well, that's changed, right? The market price has changed, and
yeah, I bought it for 8, and I wouldn't pay 23. It's a factor. I'm not made of money, and for me to enjoy all these beautiful watches, I got to cycle in and out. So, how do I prepare for the end in this current market? Well, at the moment, I personally, and I still haven't, but not much is changing. I won't buy any Rolex because I think I can get them cheaper for a little bit later. I think the collector, or at least the watch geek brands that didn't get so much love, GP, Moser. Moser is climbing, so is GP, but for the most part, still good values available.
You enjoy them.
I enjoy them. I don't really consider pricing too much, as long as I think, well, if I wear this for a couple of years, I lose a couple grand, no big deal. I just don't want to get hosed. Right? I think, and that's fair for everybody. I don't want to get hosed, but how do I prepare for the end? I don't do anything special. It's just when it hits a certain number and I think it's up there and that number is more than I think it's worth to me, I let it go. Because there's millions of watches in this world and I want to experience a lot of them.
I'd say a lot of the happiest collectors share in that same kind of mentality, is putting in your collection what you're going to wear because you love and enjoy it.
Of course. I mean, I cannot afford to buy 50 watches and not sell one once in a while. It's unrealistic.
At what point does it not make sense because you don't even see it?
Exactly. So I try and keep my collection under 10 pieces. I think right now it's at about 8. 8 serious pieces and a couple of,
I take a peek in the watch box over there in the safe. We're encroaching on higher watch territory.
But it's just, I just think, when does it make sense for me? Now, this is subjective for everybody. Maybe for someone, 23,000, the Hulk was wonderful. In fact, someone was, because they bought it from me, and people bought it all the way up to like 26,000
plus.
And those people, good for you. You got what you love. Was not worth it to me. Thus, I let it go. And that is how I handle fluctuations in the watch market. I don't care about fluctuations in the watch market. That's my point. I care about fluctuations in my love for the watch, and when does it make sense or not make sense to own that particular piece?
Makes sense. Amazing. Well, guys, you heard it here. You've been asking so much about this, both on my Instagram, The Real John P., as well as his Instagram,
Federico Talks Watches.
So make sure to check him out. Also, DelReyWatch.com. This has been Federico Talks Watches and John P. Thanks, guys. You've been chatting with John P. with Federico Talks Watches.